All right, what's up, guys? Vivi back again with another video, and if if you guys watched my last video, y'all know I've been very interested in Rebecca. It's what I'm trying to gear towards, and Rebecca just had a very nice weekend at the time of me recording this video. Okay, so we're we're gonna hop right into some Rebecca lists, and just to put in perspective, it is July 3rd. So this first list we're looking at, and this is the oldest list we're gonna look at today, on 628, and kind of see how Rebecca is progressing, and it's doing very well. It just won a pretty large tournament over in Japan for OP04, of course. Okay, guys, let's get into it. So I'm going to read the list like normal, and then we'll talk about it afterwards. We'll see what's changed since last time, right? So first off, Rebecca's the leader, obviously. Okay, and this was a first place deck in some standard battle. The host was the Makita Cup. I don't know how to pronounce that. So they're running 2 Kuzan 10 drops, 4 Idio. That's the 2-cost blocker, the Dressrosa searchable blocker. Then you have 4 Orlumbus, 4 Monkey D. Luffy, 4 Leo, 4 Rebecca, 4 Trafalgar Law, 4 Gats, 4 Kairos, 4 Sabo, 4 Bartolomeo, 3 Trino Bastardo, 4 Corda Coliseum, and 1 3000 Worlds. So not much has changed in this list, and it's still performing very well. So this is clearly a list that is working, right? It just, the core of the deck is what is so strong. And I would argue that the core is your Orlumbus, your Monkey D. Luffy, your Corda Coliseum, your Trino Bastardos, your Bartolomeos, your Sabos, your Kairos, and then the tiny package of the Leos, the Rebeccas, and the Gats. That right there is already enough to just start building your deck, right? That's going to be the start of Rebecca. Now from there, we'll see where the meta shifts it, or how things shift the deck, new ideas coming out. But I'm going to say right away that I think the Kuzan is the strongest 10 drop that the deck can run. That's just me personally. Your mileage may vary, so on and so forth. But very, very solid. I think this is the first deck that we had seen run Idio. I could be mistaken. I can't remember exactly, but I'm pretty sure this is the first edition of Idio we're seeing. Let's talk about 2K counters. They're only running 4 Gats, 4 Bartolomeo, and that's it. This list is only running 8 of the 2K counters, unless I'm missing something. Yeah, I think that's it. It's running 1 3000 Worlds and 3 Trino Bastardo. Honestly, I think you could just go 4 Trino Bastardo. Because, let's just be honest. What do you need 3000 Worlds for that you won't be able to get out of Trino Bastardo? Assuming you have 15 cards in your library. The only thing you'd have to worry about would be something like a Sabo, right? Or something like a Borsellino, something like a Fukuro. And generally speaking, that's not really something we have to worry about, right? Now, as this matchup becomes more and more prevalent, maybe we will have to worry about it. And we'll talk a little more about... we've got 4 decks lined up today. In the last 2 we're going to talk about, those are the big tournament winning decks. We'll get there when we get there. But I can understand if Rebecca becomes the meta, then yeah, 3000 Worlds will probably become something we need more of. So maybe that is the right direction. This guy's running 4 Monkey D. Luffy's and 4 Corda Coliseum. Yeah, so I've done some further play testing with my own version of Rebecca, which I'll probably share at some point. I know someone asked on one of my previous videos if I could do a black-yellow mom deck. They asked in the comments if I could cover that next. I'll have to just make one because that's not winning any tournaments. So, but I'm not opposed to doing stuff like that. I like a challenge, number one, and I think it'd be kind of cool to do. So anyway, back to what we're talking about here. After playtesting, the 4 Corda Coliseum and the 4 Monkey D. Luffy's does seem very important. I have to say, even though there is a list today that does not run Corda Coliseum, we're going to talk about that. But I do think that it's very, very important. But we'll see. We'll see how things shift, right? So anyway, other than that, this list looks completely average, completely standard. He's running 4 Trafalgar Law, which is a little interesting to me because you can't really search that up, right? You can't search Trafalgar Law up with Rebecca. You can't search Trafalgar Law up with the other Rebecca as well. So I don't know. I'm a little. I don't know how I feel about that Trafalgar Law, but who knows? Maybe it came in really clutch for him. Because if you notice, this guy is running 4 Idio blocker, 4 Bartolomeo, 2K blocker, right? And then 4 Trafalgar Law blocker and 4 Sabo. So he's just got a lot of blockers, right? That's the gist of it. But yeah, looks good. So far this deck looks like it's going to perform exactly how you think it should. He's running the 2 Kuzans, which I do like. Remember, in my previous Rebecca Meta Watch video, I think the 2 10-drop Kuzan is just right in the sweet spot where you want to be at. So that's just me. All right, let's keep going. Next deck. Whoops. There we go. Okay. So this got first place at a flagship in Japan. The host is Tsutaya. Not sure how to say that. It looks like it was a 32-person tournament on July 1st. We got 4 Kuzans in this one, 4 Idios, 4 Orlumbus, 4 Bartolomeo, 4 Monkey D. Luffy, 3 Leo, 4 Rebecca, 2 3000 Worlds, 3 Gats, 4 Kairos, 4 Sabo, 1 Suleiman, interesting, 1 Trafalgar Law, 2 King Kong Guns, 4 Truno Bastardos, and a barrier, and of course 2 Corridor Coliseum. I'm not a huge fan of barrier, but I get why it's in there. It's just, I feel like, so I want to save the last 2 decks to talk about all the stuff with them that we're going to talk about when we get to them. But I do have to mention barrier real quick. There was a misplay in the final game of the tournament. Okay. I'm sorry, guys. I got to back up just a little bit here. The next 2 decks we're going to look at got first and second place. They're both Rebecca decks. Not this deck. The next 2 decks. And the person who won even won while getting while having a play mistake using barrier. They used barrier for a 4K counter when it was only a 2K counter. And that was in a finals match, and they still won. So it literally, I feel like, in my opinion, it proved that they won even without barrier. In fact, they won as if the card said, when you draw this, just discard it, because it had 0 value. It had negative value. It had false hope in it. But I know, yes, when used properly, barrier can be very strong. But we're going to have to keep stuff like that in mind. I think 4 Kuzan 10 cost is crazy, personally. Not crazy in a bad way. I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but I think that's too many. And I get it. Once you establish Kuzan, your Leos are KOing 6 drops. Your Kuzans are KOing 6 drops. And this guy's running 4 Orlumbus and 1 Suleiman. That's interesting. We haven't seen a Suleiman on the list yet. He has on play and when attacking. If your leader has the Dressrosa type, give up to one of your opponent's characters -2 cost during this turn, then trash 1 card from the top of your deck. So that's nice, right? Like, so if you have Corridor Coliseum down and you play this guy and attack with him, you can -4 someone or -2 different characters. Something to take into consideration. There's potential for that, but I wouldn't be building strategies around it. It's just something nice to have in your back pocket if you ever need it. Other than that, though, he doesn't hit that 5,000 damage threshold. So being a 3 cost 4,000. It really hurts, right? It really hurts. I'd rather just have, the 3 cost 5,000 Kairos, which of course he runs, or the 4 cost 5,000 Orlumbus. That's probably a better example. The difference between a 3 cost 4K and a 4 cost 5K, to me personally, is astronomical. And not to mention, Orlumbus's ability is arguably stronger. It arguably is just better, right? You're just -4ing people at the cost of getting rid of your little 1 cost guys like Leo and Rebecca. Because another thing to consider is once your Rebecca and Leo have used their on-play effect, yeah, you can load them up with Dawn if you want to swing, but they've really done their purpose. They've served their purpose already. So having Orlumbus to be able to, to get some extra value out of those characters is just great. And then, like, worst case scenario, if you don't have them down anymore, you've used them all, you still have your Kairos with his interactions. Um, Overall, let's see how many 2K counters we're looking at. 4 Bartolomeos and 3 Gats. So this guy's only running 7 2K counters. So I'm just going to offer criticism right away. I'm going to say that I would rather that barrier be another 2K counter Gats. The guy who got first place at a 32-person tournament, it looks like. So I mean, I'm not trying to be too critical, but it does look like there's room for improvement here. I like the 2 3000 Worlds and the 4 Truno Bastardos. I like that. 2 Core de Coliseum is extremely low, but we are going to talk more about Core de Coliseum as we get to these last 2 decks. So let me just say that, but I do think 2 is a little low, but maybe that actually ends up being the perfect position for them. 2 Gum Gum King Kong Gun. That's nice, nice little package there. I personally would take out, if I were to play this deck, I would adjust it. I would be taking 2 Kuzans out. I'd be taking out Suleiman. I'd be taking out Trafalgar Law. And that's 4 open spots for me. And I would be putting in a Monkey D. Luffy. I'd be putting in another Gats. And then with the final 2 spots, like I said, I'd probably be taking out the 2 barrier, or the 1 barrier, and I'd be putting in just 3 more 2K counters or something like along those lines. I just personally don't like barrier in this list. I think barrier is a very strong ability, but I don't know how strong it is in this particular deck. Because for those who don't know, for those who have not seen or experienced it, once you get the Monkey D. Luffy 7-drop engine going, you are going to consistently, well, depending on who you're going against. If it's a mirror match, that's a whole different situation. But you're going to potentially be going through your cards very, very quickly to where you don't have 15 cards left in your graveyard to consistently get barrier at 4K. This isn't like Radical Beam, guys. Radical Beam is a 1-cost 4K that will always give you 4K once you hit 2 life. This card, you're going up and down with the cards in your discard pile, in your graveyard, in your trash. So, you do have to take that into consideration. But overall, I think this list is solid, and I'm not surprised at all I got first place with the core that it's running. It's running the 4 Bartolomeo. It's running the Monkey D. Luffy's. It's running the Truno Bastardos. It's running, the Kairos and the 2K counters, the Rebecca. It's running all the core of the deck from what it looks like. And a second deck with an Idio now, and I don't think we saw that the first go-around. So, okay, let's move on to the next deck. Okay, this is the first place deck list of the Fukoku. I don't know how to say these names in Japanese. I'm sorry, guys, but it was a big tournament. It was a Bandai hosted tournament where it had broadcasters. It was streamed. In fact, if I remember, I'll have to put the stream. I watched this on YT Noah's channel. He's another YouTuber for One Piece. I'll have to link his channel in the comment section below, or in the description below, if I remember. Sometimes it's hard for me to remember all this stuff, guys, because I do so many videos at one time. But anyway, I definitely recommend checking out his channel if you don't already do it. The chances of you checking out his channel, not mine, are slim to none. But it's good to, it would definitely be good to check out if you've not seen his channel. It's YT Noah is his name. But anyway, so I watched this deck go against this next deck that got second place in this 100-person tournament. Both Rebecca decks. We'll go over them one by one. Very similar lists. Like, look at that. When I hit right and left, look, very few things change. Very, very few things change. So, okay, so let's do the first place deck first. So they dropped the 10-cost Kuzan. They're going 4 of the 4-drop Kuzan. 2 Surus, 2K counter, right? 4 of your Orlumbus, 4 of your Luffy's, 4 Leos, 4 Kaya, 4 Leo, by the way, 4 Leo, 4 Kaya, 4 King Kong Gun, 4 Gats, 4 Kairos, 4 Sabo, 4 Bartolomeo, 4 Truno Bastardo, and he's running 4 barriers. And like I said, this guy, now, obviously I didn't get to watch every match this guy had, obviously. But the matches, I saw him play 2 times. I believe I saw him go against a purple-green Dofi deck, which he beat, and then a blue-black Rebecca deck in the finals. And I don't remember in the Dofi deck or not, but I don't think barrier came in very clutch there. But in the finals, he went to use barrier and failed. He actually put down, and his opponent's like, that's not enough. And he goes, oh yeah, I don't have 15 cards in my library, or I don't know if it was in that exact order, and I'm not saying his opponent knew his graveyard better than he did, but he was like, oh, wait a minute, let me check this. Oh, yeah, I don't have 15 cards. And he took the damage, and he threw away, if I'm not mistaken, I think he threw away a 2K counter and a barrier trying to block an attack, and he ended up just throwing away both of them, right? And again, yes, that is a misuse of barrier, so that shouldn't be taken as like the whole picture, like, well, if you'd use it properly, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, we get it. But the point is, we know Luffy is going to eat up your discard pile. So having a 1-cost 2K is just horrible, right? Like, we could just put a 2K counter there, right? Yeah, it won't be a Dressrosa Searchable because he already runs the 2 Dressrosa 2Ks. But the point is, he had it in hand. He could have literally just thrown out, a 2K with that instead. It's y'all know what I'm trying to say. I'm sorry if that was clumsy. The point is, I don't like barrier, and I think that would be an improvement to this list going down barriers. So this guy is running 14 2K counters. That sounds really good to me. If I don't know who all watched my first Rebecca Meta Watch video, but I am recommending that Rebecca players run nothing but 2K counters. You know what I mean? Like, not literally. Like, yeah, still have your Sabo. Still have your package. Your Orlumbus, Luffy, Kairos, Sabo, Truna Bastardo, King Kong Gun package, right? But then all you have to do is survive. So I have an idea that I want to recommend to the Japanese, the Eastern players. But I might save an entire video for that because I think there's a certain card they're just overlooking completely, and it boggles my mind. But I don't want to give that away just yet. I might save that for an entire new video. This list looks very clean. I don't like that it's not running the big Kuzan. That's just me personally. Like, I would immediately be taking out certain things to make that happen. But if you notice something about this deck, what is the highest cost card in this deck? Luffy, 7-drop. So he literally is always performing, 2, if not 3 actions per turn because of the way this deck functions. But he's running the 4 Leos. He's running the 4, of course he's running 4 Kairos. But the Leos, they get so much value from the 10-drop Kuzan. Yes, Kuzan has to survive a round, but so does this Kuzan, right? Now, the one thing I will say about this Kuzan is, hey, this is a 4-cost 5K, so it's right where we want it as far like it has the 5,000 power threshold like Orlumbus does. And like Orlumbus, this card has the potential, has the ability to drop people's cost down by 4. And it draws you a card when you play it. And hey, in a player's mind, it's like, are you going to remove my Kuzan with one of your removal spells? Or events, rather? Sure, go ahead. Because next turn, I'm probably just going to play my Luffy or my Sabo or something along those lines and start building up more and more value that way. I get it. I get why this Kuzan's in the deck. I really, truly do. But I do kind of wish... I wish it was the 10-cost Kuzan, to be honest. Or at least it's a 2-of. Like I said, I don't think 4 is good for that number. And there's a certain card that's missing from this list, guys, that's been in every single list. Korrida Coliseum is not in the first place deck list. Interesting. Very, very interesting. It's funny. The first thing that I would do if I had this deck is I would be taking out 4 barriers. I'd be taking out... maybe that's it, actually. I would be taking out the 4 barriers for at least 2 Korrida Coliseums like the last list. I'm going to go backwards real quick. This is the last list we looked at on July 1st, and this is July 2nd. When this tournament took place, but I would take out the barriers for 2 of the 10-cost Kuzans and 2 of the Korrida Coliseum. I just think it's better, and I get it. This deck won. The guy, he made it happen, and like I said, he even won on a play mistake in the finals. You'll have to find that video, and take a look at it. It was unbelievable. Like, wait a minute, did he just do what I think? It's like, oh no, he didn't count his graveyard before using a barrier. And by the way, that might not sound like a big deal. It was, because the card is gone. He actually used that card and I think it was a 1K or 2K counter. I can't remember. So those cards are gone now. It was it was a pro setting where it's like, if you make the misplay, you don't get to, let me just walk that back. Let me take my cards back. No. You did it. You performed the action. It failed. You lose the 2 cards and you lose the life. Now, yeah, that wasn't as big a deal, obviously, right? Because it was against the Rebecca deck, and that deck's not going to like eke out wins. You know, it's more or less going to run you over with Luffy and King Kong Gun. And by the way, there's one other thing I have to say: the deck that he beat, I feel like just did better than he did, and I feel like the player was even better. That's just a personal opinion, and it's nothing against either of them. I don't know either of the players; they're Japanese players. But here's the thing: this guy that we're looking at, the first place deck. How do I say this? He drew all 4 of his Sabos within the first 5 or 6 rounds. Maybe it was within the first 6 or 7 rounds, and his opponent had a Kuzan and ways to remove everything. But guess what? Sabo hard shuts down Kuzan 10 cost. I'm talking about the 10 cost Kuzan right here, and he didn't draw any of his 3,000 worlds either in the final match. It was a good game still, but I do honestly think the next deck we're going to look at, I think, is actually a better refined deck. And the one game that he got unlucky in was unfortunately the finals. And in that game, this guy that we're looking at got extremely lucky. Not to say he didn't deserve the win. It is what it is. When you win, you win. You know, if you won by an inch or if you won by a mile, you won, right? And kudos to this guy. This is a very clean list, and I think we have a lot to learn from it. Look at all the 2K counters, guys. Awesome. And a fairly low amount of blockers because he's running the barrier, you know, so maybe there's something to be said there. But I think, so the Rebecca list that I run currently, just in play testing, obviously, because we're still in OP03 here in the West. OP03 just started. But just to give you guys an idea of the list that I'm messing around with and doing play testing with, I'm running straight 2K counters, straight removal, straight defenders. And then the only thing that's not what I just said are like my 2 Kuzans for control, my Monkey D. Luffy's, and that might be it. Right? That might literally be it. You know, or Lumbus, of course, like that whole package that we talk about. And again, like I said, I'll share my deck list later. So overall, though, just really solid deck list. This, I have no doubts why this won. 4 Leos is going to be so good going into like the Trafalgar Law matchups, going into these Zoro matchups where they try to flood the board. These Leos are just eating their board up. And then that's just ammunition for Lumbus for later. So just awesome list. So let's keep going. Not too much else to talk about that we haven't already on this list. So last but not least, I think this was the best list of the tournament for Rebecca. Yes, it did not win, and yes, I think it has room for improvement. But like I said, I watched the final game. I watched it when it happened. I watched it live on YT Noah's YouTube stream. And I'm sorry, this poor guy here got so unlucky. I mean, he runs 4 Kuzans in the deck, right? They're both running Rebecca, right? They're both running a Rebecca deck. Did the other guy run? Oh, another thing that's interesting. One more thing, I'm sorry. This guy is not running the Rebecca Searcher, which I think is very interesting. That's very interesting. I don't think I noticed that before. But remember what I said. I think going down to 3 Rebeccas is the right answer, because I mean, you're going to be searching with Rebecca's ability anyway. Man, that's interesting. I feel like I could have sworn I saw him play Rebecca's. Let's count the deck list real quick. 4, 8, all right, so 10, 22, 26, 30, 34, 38, plus 12 is 50. Yeah, that's the whole list. Interesting. But yeah, no Rebecca Searcher, and I don't think it's needed. You're playing Rebecca, right? Your leader is Rebecca. When I first saw the card Rebecca be released, I thought it was mainly more for like a non-Rebecca deck, right? Because you could use Rebecca's ability every single turn with your Rebecca. That is interesting. That is very interesting, and I do like that. I'll have to keep that in mind going forward, because I think we can definitely go down to 3 or 2 Rebecca now after seeing a first-place deck without running any Rebecca or any Court of Coliseum. Very cool stuff here. So sorry, going forward, I still personally do think we should still be running Court of Coliseum. I understand, like I just said, a deck won without it. A deck just won without Kuzan that I've been preaching about. A deck just won without Court of Coliseum that every deck runs. But just because a deck wins a tournament does not mean the deck is just completely perfect and finished, right? It might be. We'll see as time goes on, but I think we have things to learn for sure. Because now we know, okay, look, this guy's running 4 Rebeccas, and a guy just won with 0 Rebecca 1-drops. So we can go down Rebecca. a guy just won with no Quarter Coliseums, so we can go down a Quarter Coliseum, right? So it opens up room in our deck for more options. So anyway, let's run through this list real quick. 4 Kuzan 10 drop, 4 Idio, the blocker. That was in every deck except the one that won. How interesting is that, by the way? Every deck we saw today, that is definitely heading the direction, is this blocker direction. So anyway, let me keep going. 4 Idios, 4 Orlumbus, 3 Monkey D. Luffy, 4 Leo, 4 Rebecca. So again, 4 Leo, by the way. Notice that, 4 Leo in both these lists. 4 Rebecca, 2 6 King's Gun. Not a big fan of that, but we'll still talk about it. 4 Gats, 4 Kairos, 4 Sabo, 4 Bartolomeo, 4 Trino Bastardo, 3 Trino Bastardo, 4 Quarter Coliseum, 2 3000 Worlds. So, the list is still all there. You know, like the core is there. The 4 Kairos, the 4 Sabos, the Monkey D. Luffy's. This one's running the Quarter Coliseums. This one's running Rebecca's and Leo's. Bartolomeo, of course, Gats for the 2K counters. And, you know, he's running the other player was not running 3000 Worlds. Y'all notice that? So no Rebecca, no 3000 Worlds, and no Quarter Coliseum in a deck list that won the whole thing. Now, I don't know what his matchups were. You know, you always have to consider, like, who did he play against to be able to win this. I only saw, like I said, him go against Purple-Green Doflamingo and Blue-Black Rebecca. I didn't get to see who else he went against. So anyway, this list, I think, is closer to what we want. And after seeing what we just saw, I think you can get rid of this. I think 6 King's Gun is just not good. That's just me personally. I get it. If your hand gets loaded with a bunch of Kairos and a bunch of Kuzans, it acts as like a 2K counter that turns those into a 1K counter. That's like the value system there. I get that. So maybe keeping 1 or 2 in the deck as tech. I like it better than Barrier. Let me say that. I actually like this card better. I like 6 King's Gun better than Barrier. Let me see what Barrier does. Draw 1 card. Trash 1 card from your... draw 2 cards and trash 1 card from your hand is Barrier's effect. Or trigger, excuse me. And 6 King's Gun is just draw 1 card, then KO one of your opponent's characters that costs 1 or less. Not exactly great on the trigger because it doesn't take into account Kuzan's your turn effect. So yeah, I think this list, like I said, is a little more geared towards perfection, and that if he had gotten a better pool, I actually think this guy would have won. And when I say a better pool, that or if his opponent had not gotten the most amazing pool that I had seen the entire tournament up to, because I watched, I think, 4 or 5 rounds of the tournament, and like I said, the other Blue-Black Rebecca deck, this one, it pulled all 4 Sabos by turn, I think it was by turn 5. So it's like, dude, you're not gonna... If you have Kuzan in that instance, and he didn't draw any 3000 Worlds after he had started dropping the Sabos, so it's like now you just don't have any answers, and he slowly got picked apart because of that. Because even after Kuzan's down, well, now you can't, even though I think he had Orlumbus down, well, it doesn't matter. Because if your opponent's dropping a Sabo every turn, well, now your Leos can't KO anyone, your Kairos can't KO anyone, your Kuzan can't KO anyone, your Trino Bastardo can't KO anyone, your whole deck gets shut down. And that's where I feel like Quarter Coliseum is very strong still, and still very relevant, because if you are in the mirror match and they start dropping their Sabos, okay, no problem. I'm just going to start smacking you with my Monkey D. Luffy, right? And the faster you can swing with him, the better, right? And theoretically, if they went Sabo last turn, you'll probably be able to go Monkey D. Luffy this turn, unless... you know, they hit it perfectly on the curve where now you're at 6 Dawn. You guys get what I'm saying. The point I'm trying to get at is the Quarter Coliseum does allow you to put more pressure on their board more consistently. So anyway, I do think this list, like I said, I think there's still room for improvement. I would take out probably 1 or 2 of the Rebecca Searchers after seeing what we just saw. I'd take out 2 of the Kuzans. I would take out a Quarter Coliseum maybe. And then let's see how many 2K counters he's running. Bartolomeo, Gats, and that's it. See, 2K counters, guys. I got to keep preaching this, because look who your leader is, and look what your Dressrosa cards are trying to do. Fill up your graveyard. Well, what's the fastest way to fill up your graveyard? Or your discard, your trash pile, whatever you want to call it. The fastest way to fill this up is by dumping 2K counters. That's the way to do it, guys. And also, this guy runs 4 King Kong guns. I want to mention that. And the person in second place ran no King Kong guns. I think he should have been running King Kong guns. That's just me personally. So if I were to take out the 2 Kuzans, and if I were to take out a Rebecca, and if I were to take out a 6 Kings gun, like I said, I would take one of those out. I would go up a Monkey D. Luffy, and I would actually go up 3 2K counters of some sort, probably. Oh, no, well, I do want to put in the 2 King Kong guns as well, so then maybe one more 2K counter, something along those lines. But yeah, I will say this, man. We saw some really interesting stuff in these games. Like I said, I definitely recommend checking them out. And this guy is just running Idio, Sabo, and Bartolomeo for his blocker package, which seems like it was enough. Like I said, Sabo is just so good, guys. Sabo is incredible. Yeah, I've seen people. I almost feel like it's a misplay if you counter with him. Unless it's to win the game, obviously, if you have no other options. If you're throwing out Sabo for counters, you're probably playing wrong. Or, well, I guess it depends on your matchup too. But you get my point. There's no way I'm tossing a Sabo. Because that allows me to draw 2 and discard 2. Sure. It draws me 2 cards to my... it lets me cycle through 2 cards. Look at the next 2 cards in my deck and then get rid of 2 cards from my hand and fueling my trash. Fueling my Monkey D. Luffy's. But notice the deck that won was running 4 Monkey D. Luffy. And at first I was saying, so one thing that I remember is I was saying that I could understand going up to 4 Monkey D. Luffy's. I could understand going up to 4 Korra Coliseums, but I cannot understand going up to 4 Rebecca. And one immediate change I would make with this list now, after doing playtesting, is I think you do need the 4 Monkey D. Luffy's. And I personally think you need Korra Coliseum in the deck. But clearly, this guy's saying, well, you can use it, but you don't need it. He clearly showed that. So, yeah, we're going to have to do another Rebecca video up here in the near future talking about the direction that I think the deck should go. Because these 2 lists are incredible. They're so solid, and they're so similar and yet so unique. Right? Like, look how one runs the 10-cost Kuzan, the other runs the 4-cost Kuzan. This deck's running 14 2K counters, right? 4 Kaya, 4 Gats, 4 Bartolomeo, and 2 Surus. And this other list is only running 8. This list is running Korra Coliseum and 3,000 Worlds and 6 Kings gun. This list is not at all. This list is running the King Kong gun, and this deck list is not. It's just so interesting. I love seeing how the decks evolve over the course of the game, over the course of the set and of the meta. See how things are affected by meta and everything. So, all right, guys, that's about all I have to say. I hope you guys are enjoying this kind of stuff, this more theory crafting podcast style videos, because this is the direction that I do want to take the channel. But going over all kinds of different card games. I want to talk about One Piece. I want to talk about Lorcana. I eventually want to dabble into Flesh and Blood. And just whatever comes out. There's even a few other games on the horizon that I've been checking out, like Grand Archive looks really interesting. There's what a time for TCGs. I gotta say, what a time for TCGs. I can't keep up with all of them fast enough, you know what I mean? Because I am just getting back into this hobby for me. I got back into trading card games about 2 months ago, maybe about 3 months ago, started looking back into it. And I've been playing card games for like 10 years, but I took a pretty long break during the whole COVID, that whole fiasco. But other than that, I've always been a card player, and even when I didn't play, on the table, so to speak, I usually would play like at home on Hearthstone or, a digital version or on my phone or something, right? But I mean, don't get me wrong. I did take a long break, but I'm by no means too far out of the loop. It's just trying to catch back up is proving to be very difficult. So anyway, long story short, I'm just rambling at this point. I do think that this is the direction I want to take the channel, where we're talking about the new decks. We're talking about the meta shift. And while I want to talk about a bunch of different card games, realistically, I think 3 is going to be the most I can really get into. Maybe 3 or 3.5, quote unquote, where like One Piece and Lorcana will probably be the main focus of this channel. And then the other 2, the 1.5, quote unquote, other will be like Flesh and Blood and Grand Archive, because I do also like, the direction that's going. And we'll say that for another video. So, all right, guys, hope you all enjoyed. And thanks for sticking around me and listening. And If you guys got any comments, tell me what y'all think in the comment section below. Which list you think is the best and why, or if you saw the tournament, tell me what you thought about it. If I missed anything, please tell me any hidden combos I might be overlooking. Maybe some adjustments you'd make to these decks. Just kind of give me a heads up what y'all think, what content y'all want to see going forward. And yeah, appreciate it again, guys. Thanks a lot. And until next time, peace.